All right, let's dive in. We're headed to a neighborhood in Montevideo, Uruguay, that's doing something pretty incredible. They're trying to turn every single piece of their trash into treasure. It's called the Palermo Circular project, and honestly, it might just change how you look at your own garbage can.
So let's start with a big question. What if your trash wasn't actually trash? Seriously. Think about it. That banana peel, that toaster that just gave up, that old t-shirt, what if that wasn't the end of the line for them, but just the start of a whole new journey?
Well, that's exactly the question they're tackling in the Palermo neighborhood. And this isn't about just, recycling a bit more. Nope. They're trying to fundamentally rewire their whole community's relationship with stuff.
For the longest time, cities have worked on this super simple but really wasteful model. It's linear. We take stuff from the earth, we make things, and then we throw them away. End of story. But Palermo's vision, it completely flips that script. They're trying to become a living, circular ecosystem where waste isn't the end. It's just a transition point.
Okay, so to pull this off, they came up with a really simple but powerful framework. Think of it like a cast of characters. First, you've got your senders. They're the ones providing a resource, like a household with food scraps. Then you have converters. They're the ones who transform that resource. Next up are the receivers, who take that new, transformed product. And finally, you have holders, which can be anything from a park to an app that store value or information. Keep these 4 roles in your head, because we're about to see them all over the place.
All right, so let's see how this actually works. The change doesn't start in some big factory or a high-tech lab. It starts right there on the street.
And this really required a huge shift in how people think. In the old system, right, organic stuff, broken things, packaging, it all went to one place, the landfill. But in Palermo's circular model, those exact same things become valuable. They're the raw ingredients for something else. Food scraps become a compost. Broken items get a second chance.
And this isn't just an idea on paper, they're actually doing it. Take their neighborhood compost project. So households, our senders, bring their organic waste to these special local units. These units are the converters. They start pre-composting everything right there, on the block. It's super local, it's decentralized, and it happens fast.
And get this, it's not just about apple cores and coffee grounds. They've set up these amazing repair and disassembly cafés. These are basically community hubs where you can get help fixing your stuff. And if something's really truly beyond repair, it doesn't get tossed in the trash. No way. It gets carefully taken apart into its basic materials, pure metals, plastics, you name it. This makes recycling so much more effective. These cafés are true converters, turning junk into treasure.
So now you've got all these new resources flowing. Pre-compost from the streets, raw materials from the repair cafes. They have to go somewhere, right? Well, in Palermo, they all head to the heart of the community, the local park, Parque Rodó.
And the park is no longer just a patch of grass with some benches. It's been transformed into an active, productive part of this whole urban ecosystem. It's not just for relaxing anymore. It's a place where things are made, transformed, and created.
So the park starts wearing a bunch of different hats. It becomes a major receiver, taking in all that organic material from the neighborhood. Then it flips its role and becomes a sender, providing rich, finished compost for new gardens. And, as you'll see in a second, it's also a really important holder of knowledge for the community.
This is where the design gets seriously clever. Everything does double, or even triple duty. The urban garden? Yeah, it grows food, but it's also a receiver for all that compost and a place for community workshops. Those green walls? They don't just look good. They're receivers for rainwater, they boost biodiversity, and they help cool down buildings. Literally every piece of the puzzle is working overtime. Okay, so you've got all this action happening on the streets and a central hub in the park. But how do you connect all those moving parts? How do you coordinate everybody? Well, you build a brain for it. The project calls it their digital nervous system. It's this invisible network that orchestrates the whole thing, making sure the right stuff gets to the right place exactly when it's needed.
And the core of that brain is the circular app Palermo. Think of it as the ultimate holder of information. You need to know where to drop off old batteries or wine corks. The app tells you. You want to swap a chair you don't need anymore? There's a little marketplace. It's also a sender of messages, connecting people to resources and to each other, making the whole system click.
But the connection isn't just on your phone.
it's face-to-face. The park becomes a living classroom. It's a holder of practical know-how and a sender of that knowledge through public workshops on everything from composting to repair. This is so important because it empowers residents to be a real part of the system, not just passive users.
So let's step back for a second. When you put all these pieces together, the action on the streets, that hardworking park, the digital network connecting it all, what have you actually built?
You get a complete closed loop, a true circle. You can literally follow a piece of food waste on its entire journey. A household, the sender, separates it. It gets transformed by a converter right on the block. And it ends up as a valuable nutrient in the park, the receiver. Nothing is wasted. Value is created at every single step.
What the Palermo Circular project really shows us is that a city doesn't have to be a machine that just eats up resources and spits out trash. It can be more like a living thing, something that regenerates and thrives. Which leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Could your neighborhood become a living ecosystem too?